This story is from about 15 years ago. I was walking home from work at about 9 p.m., and the walk was about 1 mile total. At this time, I took a route that wasn't along a main road. I walked through a side road through a neighborhood instead, and before reaching the actual neighborhood, there's an empty field to my right and a couple of parking lots to my left. Just as I entered the neighborhood, I heard running footsteps behind me that sounded like a horse galloping, and I instantly knew what was going on. A group of people were trying to jump me. I also instantly knew that I had to get back to the main road so I'd be around more people and lighting. I leaped forward into the side road while looking back. 3 bigger guys coming right towards me like a football game. One of them said, "If I run, I'll make it worse." And I immediately ran to the right side of them in a full sprint. The taller guy reached for my shirt, but he didn't get me, and they continued to chase me at full speed. Halfway through the empty field, I looked back while running, and the only one still chasing me was the taller guy. The other 2 guys were tired out of walking towards us, but I heard one of them say to chase me down. The guy chasing me was literally reaching for me while running, and he came so close, but I was sprinting with everything I had, and he finally gave up as I came closer to the shopping center parking lot on the other side of the field. After that, I went into McDonald's and drank a cup of water while catching my breath, and I was breathing heavily. Anyways, I called my friend who lived close by, and he picked me up with a couple of his friends and drove me home.
It has been said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I understand the sentiment behind the saying, but it's wrong. I entered the building on a bet. I was strapped for cash and didn't buy into the old legends of the hotel to begin with, so $50 was more than enough to get me to do it. It was simple, just reach the top floor. The 45th floor, shine my flashlight from a window. The hotel was old and broken, including the elevator, so that meant hiking up the stairs. So up the stairs I went. As I reached each platform, I noted the old brass plaques displaying the floor numbers: 15, 16, 17, 18. I felt a little tired as I crept higher, but so far no ghosts, no cannibals, no demons. Piece of cake. I can't tell you how happy I was as I entered that last stretch of numbers. I joyfully counted aloud at each platform: 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 44. I stopped and looked back down the stairs. I must have miscounted somewhere. So I continued up. 44. One more flight. 44. And then down 10 flights. 44. 15 flights. 44. And so it's been for as long as I can remember. So really, insanity isn't doing something repeatedly and expecting different results. It's knowing that the results will never ever change, that each door leads to the same staircase to the same number. It's realizing you no longer fall asleep. It's not knowing whether you've been running for days or weeks or even years. It's when the sobbing slowly turns into laughter.
Here's a little info about me. I think I was 18 to 19 years old at that time, and I'm female. And English is not my native language, so please forgive my mistakes. This happened when I moved away from my old apartment to a new apartment near the old one. I had friends in my old apartment building, so almost every day I walked to my old apartment building to see my friends. At like 11 p.m. to 12 a.m., I used to walk back to my new apartment. It was only a 5-minute walk, so I wasn't really concerned about walking alone. I just do an L shape since my new apartment is on the next street. One day, like always, I walked from my old apartment to my new one, and there was a dude in front of my apartment building looking at me. He had his PJs on, a white t-shirt, a boxer, and house slippers, and he had his car parked next to him. My intent was to walk past him since I don't know him, but he stopped me. He said, "Excuse me, I live in this place, and I always watch you walking on the street, and I want to meet you." Two things scared me real bad. One, he watches me from his window every night. And two, he couldn't know where exactly my apartment building was unless he followed me there, because he can't see my new apartment building from his house. It's impossible. My guess is he stalked me and saw where I live, and the next night when he saw me, he quickly grabbed his car keys, left his house, and drove to my apartment building and started to wait for me there. So I politely said, "I'm sorry, I don't really want to meet someone new," and walked past him quickly as he was pleading for me to meet him. After that night, I saw him watching me from his window a couple of times, but he didn't try to talk to me again. So creepy dude with PJs, let's not meet again.
He had been given the watch on his 10th birthday. It was an ordinary gray plastic wristwatch in every respect, except for the fact that it was counting down. "That is all of the time you have left in the world, son. Use it wisely." And indeed he did. As the watch ticked away, the boy, now a man, lived life to the fullest. He climbed mountains and swam oceans. He talked and laughed and lived and loved. The man was never afraid, for he knew exactly how much time he had left. Eventually, the watch began its final countdown. The old man stood looking over everything he had done, everything he had built. 5. He shook hands with his old business partner, the man who had long been his friend and confidant. 4. His dog came and licked his hand, earning a pat on the head for its companionship. 3. He hugged his son, knowing that he'd been a good father. 2. He kissed his wife on the forehead one last time. 1. The old man smiled and closed his eyes. Then nothing happened. The watch beeped once and turned off. The man stood, standing there, very much alive. You would think that in the moment he would have been overjoyed. Instead, for the first time in his life, the man was scared.